Title: The Disturbing Truth Behind Thunderstorm Terror, 3 Horrifying Encounters. Tom and his friends had been planning a quiet weekend getaway in a remote cabin for months. They finally arrived just as dark clouds began to gather on the horizon, signaling the approach of a violent thunderstorm. The cabin was old and isolated, surrounded by dense woods with no cell service or nearby neighbors. "Looks like we're in for a stormy weekend," Tom said with a laugh as they unloaded their supplies. By the time night fell, the wind had picked up, howling through the trees, and rain began to pour. They settled inside the cozy cabin, playing cards by candlelight, trying to ignore the eerie sounds outside. But as the storm intensified, something unsettling began to happen. The power flickered and eventually went out, plunging them into darkness, save for the flickering candles. A deafening clap of thunder shook the cabin, and they all jumped at the sound. "That was close," Sarah said, her voice tense. As the wind roared outside, they heard a different noise, something knocking at the front door. It was faint at first, almost drowned out by the storm, but it grew louder, more insistent. "Who could be out here in this weather?" Tom asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. He cautiously approached the door, but when he opened it, there was no one there, just the rain and wind. The knocking stopped, and Tom closed the door, locking it behind him. "Must have been the wind," he muttered, but the uneasy feeling lingered. Minutes later, the knocking started again, this time more frantic, like someone desperately trying to get inside. Tom opened the door once more, but again, no one was there. "Okay, this is getting weird," he said, stepping out onto the porch to look around. The rain was pouring down in sheets, and the wind howled, but there was no sign of anyone. He returned inside, dripping wet, and bolted the door shut. As they sat back down, trying to shake off the tension, they heard something far more terrifying. Footsteps, slow, deliberate footsteps, echoed above them on the cabin's second floor. Everyone froze, staring at each other in disbelief. "No one else is here," Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Tom grabbed a flashlight and motioned for them to follow him upstairs. The stairs creaked under their weight as they ascended, hearts pounding with dread. At the top, they found nothing, just empty rooms filled with old furniture and dust. But the footsteps continued, louder now, as if something, or someone, was moving around them. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning illuminated the room, and they saw it, an outline of a figure, standing in the corner. Tom's heart nearly stopped as he shone the flashlight directly at it, but the figure disappeared. "We need to get out of here," Sarah cried, her voice shaking with terror. But the storm was too fierce to leave the cabin, they were trapped until morning. For the rest of the night, they huddled together, listening to the relentless footsteps above them. The storm raged on, and the knocking returned, now accompanied by strange whispers that seemed to surround the cabin. By morning, the storm had passed, but the terror of that night lingered in their minds. They packed up and left the cabin, vowing never to return. Later, they learned the truth about the cabin. A family had been murdered there years ago during a thunderstorm. To this day, no one knows who, or what, was haunting them during that stormy night. It was supposed to be a simple road trip. Samantha and her boyfriend, Mark, were driving back from a weekend getaway when the skies darkened with ominous clouds. As the first drops of rain began to hit the windshield, Mark frowned. "We should pull over until the storm passes." They pulled off the highway and parked near a small diner, but the building was closed, and the parking lot was empty. The rain intensified quickly, turning into a torrential downpour. Lightning flashed across the sky, followed by a booming clap of thunder that shook the car. The storm was unlike anything they'd ever experienced. The wind howled, causing the car to sway, and visibility was reduced to mere inches. But it wasn't the storm that scared Samantha, it was the figure she saw standing on the side of the road. At first, she thought it was just someone seeking shelter from the storm. But as the lightning illuminated the figure, she realized something was terribly wrong. The person was drenched, standing perfectly still, and staring directly at them. "Mark, do you see that?" Samantha whispered, her voice filled with fear. Mark followed her gaze and saw the figure, his face going pale. "We need to leave," he said, starting the engine. But as soon as the car roared to life, the figure took a step toward them. Another flash of lightning revealed the person's face, a blank, featureless face with hollow eyes. Samantha screamed as Mark hit the gas, but the car wouldn't move, it was stuck. The figure moved closer, now standing just feet from the car. Samantha's heart pounded as she frantically tried to lock the doors, but the figure didn't try to open them. Instead, it pressed its hands against the window, leaving smears of blood behind. "Go, go!" Samantha cried, but the car remained motionless, the engine sputtering in the storm. Just as the figure seemed ready to break the glass, a deafening crack of thunder shook the earth. The figure vanished, leaving only the bloody handprints on the window as a reminder of its presence. Miraculously, the car lurched forward, and they sped away, hearts racing. They didn't stop until they reached the safety of a motel miles away. When they inspected the car, the bloody handprints had vanished without a trace. To this day, Samantha and Mark have no explanation for what they saw that night. But they avoid road trips during thunderstorms, haunted by the memory of the faceless figure on the roadside. Anna had always loved thunderstorms. There was something calming about the sound of rain tapping against the windows, the rumble of thunder in the distance. But one night, during a particularly violent storm, her love for thunderstorms turned to fear. She was home alone, curled up on the couch with a book, when the storm began. The wind howled outside, and the sky lit up with flashes of lightning that illuminated her living room. But it wasn't until the power went out that she felt the first pang of unease. The house was plunged into darkness, and the only light came from the occasional bolt of lightning. Anna grabbed a flashlight and made her way to the kitchen, trying to stay calm. As she passed by the window, a bright flash of lightning revealed something that made her heart stop. There, standing in her backyard, was a man. He was soaking wet, his clothes clinging to his body, and he was staring directly at her. Anna froze, her breath catching in her throat. The man didn't move, didn't say anything, he just stood there, watching her. Panic set in as she backed away from the window, her mind racing. She grabbed her phone, but there was no signal, the storm had knocked out the service. Another flash of lightning, and the man was closer, standing just outside her back door. Anna's heart pounded in her chest as she locked all the doors and windows, praying the man wouldn't try to break in. But then she heard it, a soft tapping at the back door. Her hands shook as she clutched the flashlight, unsure of what to do. The tapping grew louder, more insistent, as if the man was trying to get inside. With every flash of lightning, she could see his face, expressionless, emotionless. Then, just as suddenly as the storm had started, the tapping stopped. The rain slowed, and the wind died down, leaving only the faint rumble of thunder in the distance. Anna cautiously approached the back door, her heart still racing. When she looked outside, the man was gone. Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. She turned to walk away, and that's when she saw it, a wet footprint on the floor, leading into her house. Her blood ran cold as she realized the man wasn't outside anymore. He was inside. Anna searched the house, but there was no sign of him, just the single wet footprint leading into the living room. She never saw the man again, but the memory of that night still haunts her. And now, whenever a thunderstorm rolls in, she makes sure to lock all the doors and windows, just in case her visitor returns. Thunderstorms may be powerful forces of nature, but sometimes, they bring more than just rain and thunder. The unknown can lurk in the shadows of a storm, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Always trust your instincts and stay vigilant, for not all storms are as harmless as they seem.